Hi everybody, my name is Marcus. I'm the founder and CEO of Intensify, and I have nothing to do with mobility, so we'll not hear anything of insights about mobility. So I'm coming from a 20-year history within TUI, so I'm a travel nerd, like to do stuff around that. I founded the company Intensify like 8 years ago, and as you can imagine from the name, we do a lot of stuff in the AI field, and 8 years is already some good time. And I would like to share some nice insight with you guys from the outside of the mobility part, but which is maybe relevant for all of you guys. So just wanted to give you an outside view on that. The pictures or the screens you will see in a second are all AI generated because we like AI. So I gave my presentation to the AI and asked them to do some kind of cool stuff. A working student did it, so therefore I gave him some iterations, so a hard time, but finally it worked out pretty well, I have to say. So let's see how we like it. My first question is, looking at this, and because AI is a big field and it's a big, sometimes it's bullshit because a lot of people use AI, and if you go to an AI conference, everybody is using AI and everywhere. If you look into your own companies, who of you thinks, or who knows your company has an AI strategy and guidelines how to use AI? Can you raise your hand if you have this kind of, strategies implemented, if you're comfortable with that?
We tried it, we failed.
So 2, let's say, more or less, right? So that's, we have onboarded a lot of customers on our end, and I've talked to several hundreds like travel companies, and it's exactly my feeling, right? When I talk about to customers and we talk about AI and stuff like that, I mean, it's maybe 1% having a real guideline in place. So you're not alone. It's happening to a lot of companies, but I try to tackle this a bit from a different angle or from a special angle. So let's follow that a bit. All right, so where do we get started? I mean, when we talk about AI, it's a lot of things has to do about data, right? So we talked about this before, and what I realized, and I worked 20 years for TUI, and it was exactly the same. We're talking about data silos, right? So isolated kind of things, right? You call it different departments, etc. So therefore, you might have pricing data, you might have customer data, you might have quality management. They all have their data, but they're all disconnected, right? Maybe it sounds familiar. For a lot of companies, that's the current situation, the status quo, right? And they might be connected sometimes, these kind of silos, but they're very limited connected whenever they are connected, right? And that is a bit where the AI struggle starts. And I'm talking here about data, and when I see AI projects, starting and failing, there's a lot of discussion about data and technology. But the number one thing is what I realized when projects fail, it has to do about culture and change. Because technology is one piece for sure, but this kind of architecture, let's call it, it's hopefully not an architecture, but this also exists in the brains of the people, right? And their mentality, right? I mean, I worked 20 years for TUI and they're a great company, but there was also, don't touch that, it's a different department, don't look here, and the data's not talking to each other. So that's a bit the problem I often realize where we're coming from. And that's very common. It's nothing new and you're not alone. I think this is what happens to most of the companies. I want to look at this from a specific kind of angle because it's a huge point and we will not solve it today. And I can't give you a playbook how to do that. But I want to look at this from a customer contact center point of view, right? Because whenever we have a touch point with a customer, I always say that's pure gold because a lot of companies are reporting what kind of cash they have, money, etc. But at the end, I think the data is the currency of the future. Because if you don't have data, you will not have profit in the future. And there are a lot of research about that. Companies using AI in several fields are way more productive, have a better P&L, much more revenue. So therefore, and the tendency is even increasing. So therefore, you need to think about how to deal with that. And data is maybe the most important point because without data, you have nothing, where you can build your AI on. So just some thoughts on that. So I would, I like the kind of customer touch points. And what I would like to say that every customer touch point counts, right? And this is something you're not dependent on an external market, etc. A lot of companies have customer touch points and don't make any use of that, right? And customer touch points might be everywhere over the customer journey, right? During the booking process, in a travel agency, within a destination, wherever you have this kind of touch points. And each of this touch point is super important. And I mentioned the point culture, so therefore be clear that every touch point has some kind of, coming back to why we have this session about signals, right? Because whenever you can analyze these kind of touch points, you get data. And you get your own data for your own kind of setup, and that helps you a lot, working on that. And when I worked for TUI, I really often heard things like, yeah, I met a customer and the customer said our pricing is not good enough. And I had this really several times with my manager, right? And it's a bit why I think I calculated this one time because he met one, it was my boss, he met one customer telling he booked another tour operator because it was cheaper. And he came back to me and told me, can you look into the pricing? And just to give you an idea, we had about 80 billion prices on this time in the market, right? And if someone tell you, can you check the prices? And you finally ask them, but whom do you talk to? Yeah, I found one customer. It's difficult, to analyze 80 billion prices because one customer gave feedback. So with this kind of opportunity, you get some kind of business case, some kind of idea. Is it really relevant, right? If one customer telling me, I wouldn't stand up for that, right? If it's 10 or 100, if I have 80 billion price, maybe not. But if it's significant, yeah, maybe I would do that. So try to better understand if the signals you're receiving, if they are really relevant or not. This is how we transform data into structured data. It looks a bit weird because the AI is not really giving too much clarity on that, maybe. And what we do, and I give you an idea about what you can do with data. And let's take, you can have every kind of channel, an omni-channel strategy, and can communicate with your customers. Might be via phone, chat, email, social media, you call it, right? You can have every kind of channel. Give you an idea what you can do just by analyzing voice, right? Because a lot of companies still have, calls, which absolutely makes sense sometimes because you might have better conversions. Look at the cruise industry. Their main channel is sending via phone. So it's a really important channel. And what you could do today, and it's a bit about, buy or build strategy, right? And while using AI, I always recommend cut it into smaller pieces. Don't start too big. Have a big vision, that's fair enough, but cut it into smaller pieces and get started. And the easiest way to get started is not via starting building stuff and having a huge agenda and then having your whole organization start building something, because this probably might not work. Maybe start small. And what you can do, for example, right now, you can buy or rent or software as a service. We had it before. You can use existing solutions in the market. And what you could do, for example, for voice, you could take an audio file, and you know this when you call a hotline and they're asking you, well, we record this for quality reasons, these kind of things. Whenever you do that, the companies are finally recording the call. And what you can do while recording the call, afterwards, you can transform this call into a transcript. So you transfer speech into text. And then you could start analyzing that. That's what the AI is doing over here, right? And the beauty about that is, the today's AI solutions. Let's talk about large language models, the big solutions. You all know OpenAI, these kind of things. They're extremely powerful. And for example, they don't have a problem analyzing and transcription, and they even don't need to be trained. We are doing this also in our business, and we never train the AI on a customer because it's so powerful. You don't have to do that. So if you know how to prompt the AI, it's pretty powerful. So transforming, recording a call, transferring into the transcription and analyzing the context, and that's the beauty about that. When you have a context-aware AI, you can transform a transcript into KPIs. Why did the customer call you? Was he happy? The sentiment score. You can summarize things. You can derive coaching. You can do a lot of things around that. So what you do finally, before you had a phone call, maybe not recording it. When you record it afterwards, you have, let's say, this black box, you have put it into something, with clarity and KPIs, and then you can start optimizing based on these KPIs. So before everything was closed, now we have a lot of KPIs in there, and these KPIs talk to you. So you can analyze in different kind of ways. And that's maybe the most important top on that. One point for that, from a technology point of view, let's say it's no rocket science. There are a lot of things needs to be done, but it's not something where you spend months on that, right? You can implement it pretty easy. The challenge is, again, the culture of the company, right? Because you need to talk to your customers, telling them, I record this kind of call. It's pretty easy today because it's nearly done in every kind of hotline you might have. But you need also to talk to your employees, right? Because you're recording it, for example, you analyze stuff, so you need to talk to them, you need to find things. You need to convince them that what you do is not to get rid of them, but helping them doing the right stuff, right? That the AI can help them. And that's a big thing, because you need to think about, when you have an AI strategy, what's your goal, right? And we believe that a good goal is having a hybrid solution where technology can help you guys, making the agents better, right? Because I know a lot of agents in the travel industry, and they all, they have this 20-30% of their work which is repetitive and which is really not really cool and, fancy, and they are happy to get rid of that. Maybe there are other things they're extremely good where you need emotions, where you need, your own, where you know the product really well, you can give some good recommendations. And this is the sweet spot of an agent, right? It's not doing repetitive tasks which an agent can do better. And that's the reason why this kind of communication towards your employees, your customers, is super important. As I mentioned, often the projects, when they fail, they don't fail because of technology, they fail because it's not accepted, it feels like it's something external, nobody wants it. So we always recommend make it very open and transparent from day one. Keep the one who are against it into that so that they can contribute to that. You can decide what to do with that. There's an eye in there, but how you use it, how much it should do, you can decide it on your own. But get in touch with your customers and your employees to talk about that. That's my recommendation on that. Some use case, to give a better idea what you can do. And we have some customers, in various, fields in the travel industry and what they do with that. One example, when you record call or emails, and one question we always get a question from is marketing. They ask us always, well, we're doing a lot of marketing campaigns. Which of them is finally ending up and really creating value? And for example, what we did with one of our clients, we asked them, whenever you have your agent on the call, give them some kind of scripting. So give them 2 or 3 questions you want to have answered. And one could be, it's nice that you called us, how did you recognize us, what kind of, I don't know, channel, media it was. So they might tell you, there was a newspaper advertisement, whatever it is. And whenever you say that, it's within the audio, then it's within the transcript, and then the AI will analyze that. So for the one customer, we could really, and they had a list of 100 different kind of channels they're doing promotion. And we could analyze what customer was coming out of which promotion. So at the end, you really understand if it's a benefit, if you do promotion, and where it is a benefit, and where maybe not, right? Another one is product. I worked in the product department for TUI before, and I mentioned this example. One customer came in and said something is not good. That's maybe not relevant, but if something happens very often, you hear something about a hotel that's, I don't know, the pool wasn't great, the food wasn't great, whatever, and it happens again and again and again, that's a strong signal, right? Then you can work on that. So you can put this kind of feeling into some kind of data-driven feedback, and then you can spread it around a different department. And one very important department is a product department. You can make use of that. Another one is, of course, revenue management. I mean, what we did for another customer, you can create heat maps. What are the customers asking for? What kind of destinations? What's the duration, 7 nights, or what do they want? Are they booking a package tour? Whatever they do, so you can create something like a heat map. We did it for a cruise line. What kind of cruise ships do they prefer? Regions in the world, etc., etc. What is the departure date, etc. So we can create heat maps, and these heat maps can also, work as signals. We had this before. Could be one source of truth, giving you an indication of what's happening in the market right now, how to react to that. Maybe the pricing system needs to be aware of that, and knowing, okay, there's some more requests coming in, so maybe we put the pricing a bit higher, etc. So that may be one option too. And the last one is customer service, right? Because in customer service, you get a lot of kind of insight about sentiments, for example. Are customers happy? Are there, is their issue solved at the end of a conversation, right? We had another customer who said, well, we had an internal goal that we don't want complaints. And I know it's difficult. There's a smaller company that said, whenever I have the feeling there was a call and it ended up with the customer not being really satisfied, I can see this in the KPIs, because you can have a rating score like that. And then we finally ending up that one person was finally calling again, this kind of customer. We had the feeling we were not happy, what can we do, etc. There are a lot of things that you can do. You can learn about preferences from customers, connecting this to your CRM. For example, if you know the customer likes to cruise and he wants to have, he likes good spacey ship, or he's really keen to have good shows on board of the ship, that is a preference. You can put it in your CRM, and later on, if you do some kind of promotion, you can personalize it. So there are a lot of things, where you can use this kind of data, just to give you some use case around that. So how it's ending up, and I put a female in here because most of the agents are females, and because it was funny, the working student returned to me this page, and I said I wanted to have Superwoman or Superman, something like that, and the AI gave me back Superman, not Superwoman. So I said no, we twisted, so we take Superwoman, and I think that's the majority of the agents are women, and they do it pretty well. So what you do at the end, and that's what I always say, this is a kind of hybrid model. For us, we are not thinking about, yeah, we need to replace the humans. That's the point. But maybe we speed up the humans and they can concentrate on the emotional part of, you know, transferring their kind of experience with the product. But they get information from all the different kind of satellites departments. It could be from customer service, could be within the destinations, could be wherever it is. And finally, we have a super agent, right? And super agent can consume the information and serve a better kind of, you know, service to the customers. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Any question from the audience? Ah.
I have a question because, okay, we hear about AI everywhere. Even the washing machine is with AI.
Yeah.
So it's very often overused. But I think that you were talking about the phone. Now we have a voice bot which can make 7,000 calls immediately, which is impossible for a person. And we have an issue that as a human, we receive a lot of junky phones, you know, with AI, voice, bots, and so on and so on. And on some point, I figured by myself that I'm happy that the real person is calling to me with such a thing. And looking on the effectivity of this solution of VoiceBot is super high. So 7,000 calls, you know.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, still the personal contact in telephone might be a benefit for relation and for business. And the other doubt is that if we will keep automating and over-calculating everything, like I said, washing machine and everything, then probably there will be some kind of counter AI for the individuals. So my idea is to have a voice bot which will answer my phones and spam, disconnect all the spam before I will be connected, some kind of digital secretary, for example. So then it will be kind of robots war in, you know, on the phone, saying behind our knowledge even.
I personally think that's the future, to be honest. Not that it's my future, but I think what happens, if you look at Apple and the Apple phone, you know, the iPhone in the US, they are analyzing what's happening on the phone and they are deriving what are your preferences. And they could even, you know, contact the cinema to arrange, I don't know, a movie for you. It's not necessarily bad because it's keeping the friction out of the system, but I fully agree to the point before. So we don't want, for example, the agent to be replaced by a voice bot. That's not our point. But I give you an example. We had an energy company, and the energy company had one kind of thing where you need to tell them your consumption, right? Very hands-on process. So you just need to call them, tell them, my consumption for this account was 4537. In this call, I'm happy if I don't have an emotional agent in front of me telling me his whole history, because I just want to be very efficient with that. On the other side, if I book travel, for example, and want to get some inspiration, I don't want to talk to an AI. I don't want to do that. And that's the reason why I think if you understand the contact reasons, and you can easily detect the contact reasons, you might find of them are more for efficiency. Or for example, if you want to order a taxi, you want it just that this taxi ends up in front of the door. You don't need emotions for that. So that's fine. There you can use an AI. But for other things, you can decide which of the use cases you take over for human and which one to machine. So we don't believe a voice bot should be the final goal. No. But for some of the cases, maybe yes. But then you have more agents answering the booking calls and giving you. So that's a bit the kind of hybrid model I was talking about. But fully agree.
Restaurant.
Yeah.
In McDonald's, you want to use a screen.
Yeah.
But in the restaurant, you want a waiter to serve you.
Exactly. So that's why it's not black and white. I think it's something, and each company has an own identity. So some companies are more looking for efficiency, so they might more use bots, right? Some companies say, I want to have this phone calls because it's our main contact to the customer. That's how we differentiate. And that's your own DNA you have to set up and have an idea. What is your kind of balance, right? More efficiency, better sales, better service, things like that.
There's actually a funny ice-breaking video rotating in Instagram where an outbound bot calls the inbound hotel secretary, which is AI-based.
Yeah.
And they start communicating to each other, and then one of the bots detects that the other one is AI as well. And they start, so should we switch back to the like digital code or something? And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah. It's funny if bots are talking in human language, right? Because it's very inefficient for them. So that
To
would be different.
reflect the human factor of the previous speaker, I want to say that I had that call last week from a beautiful lady's voice, and I'm really weak for that. So, and I was talking to the person, I thought a person, for some 3 minutes, and she was really responding quickly and answering all the things, and she was very, very nice and kind of and informative about all the things. And only at the end of the story, when she said, "So, are you interested to talk to a human assistant?" I said, "Wait. I was talking to the bot for 3 minutes. I couldn't detect that." So,
Yeah.
I mean, when we talk about AI, it's not about the robotic voice and functionality anymore. It's really something super advanced.
The latest generation is pretty good, I'd say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other question?
What can happen with niche markets? If everybody is using AI, there is no niche market, because if everything is over-calculated, you will not have any niche market, because I'm specialized in one part, the little things that I'm doing, I think better than the others. So that's my perfect place where I'm making money, for example, in pricing now. And if there is AI over-calculating everything, this niche market is not existing anymore, because everybody will see it. So if everything is over-calculated, maybe there is no competitors and just only one company. Why having so much companies? I mean, we are all doing things different. That's why here we are all together, and there is a lot of companies. If we are just doing everything the same thing, why having so much companies? Just one is okay, no?
Well, I think to that, I mean, AI is helping us doing stuff, but there's a brain telling the AI what to do, right? So therefore, I think you have a DNA as a company, and at the end, what makes a difference are the humans, right? Because how you differentiate, what is the instructions for the AI and stuff like that, and at the end, it's maybe the emotions to the brand, the personal contact. So I agree, everybody can use AI, so there might be something more or less in common, but I see, with the companies we're working at, it again depends on the data, how they connect things. Sometimes they cannot even connect the AI to their other systems, then nothing works in the end. So it's a lot of things. We will not be there in the next 10 or 20 years, I'm pretty sure.
Any other comment? I would like to share just a personal comment. My son is 26 and he went to Marseille for 3 days. He didn't know exactly what to do. He said to the ChatGPT, "Okay, I was with my girlfriend for 3 days in Marseille. Can you organize? I like culture and this kind of things." And the system providing the itinerary, what to do, because he has only 3 days and he wants to wake up at noon or whatever, this kind of stuff. So, in car rental, we just all have this bloody white Renault Clio at 20 euros a day. So that could be a way also, if you provide this kind of service for your customer to say, "Okay, I'm more a cultural guy. I would like to have a food stuff. Okay, the market is open at that time and the fishermen are coming back at this time." So it's a way to provide some additional value to the service on top of this bloody white Clio at 20 euros. So there is a lot of possibilities, and unfortunately with the human at the counter, with a lot of pressure, with a queue of an hour behind you, you don't have a lot of time to share this moment with your customer, in fact. Even though you would like to have it, it's almost impossible. So that could be a kind of additional service that is provided by you as Europcar Poland to do this and not to do that, because if you like these things, then that's accessible now. It's a way to differentiate yourself. So, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.